Hello and welcome to your next tutorial in C++, and today we're going to be learning about the switch statement. Now what's the switch statement? Well, what it will allow you to do is, like if and else if statements, allow you to choose what code is executed if a certain case holds true. So let's figure out how we go about doing it. So let's work with integers first, and let's create an int, and let's call it score. Let's have a cout message print out, and have it say type in your AP score, something like that. And of course then the user will have to type in their score. Then comes the switch statement. So let's look at the syntax. The first thing you'll do is type out switch, and then a pair of parentheses, then an opening curly brace, and then a closing curly brace. So it kind of looks like an if already, doesn't it? Well, anyways, in here, you don't put an expression in here, you'll actually put in whatever variable, or you could just put in a number directly, like this, for an example, or a string in directly if you wanted to. But yeah, let's look at this. So we have AP score, so let's put in our score in here. Just like that. Now let's actually make some cases. So an AP score goes from 1 to 5. So let's go through each one. So first we type out case. Whoops. And what's the first one we want to look at? 5. If they got the correct one. So basically you'll just type in case, then whatever integer you want to look for. So if score, if we typed in a 5, we'll execute the following piece of code. Also note I put a colon there, not a semicolon. Then go down one, and what code do we want to execute? And no, you don't need curly braces, so don't worry. We'll have a message printout that says, let's say, what does she say? You are very ready for this college course. I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go. Well, that's what it typically means. A 5 usually means that you really know the material and you don't need to take the class in college. And then we need a break. Now, don't worry about the breaks. I'll explain them when I'm done going through each of the cases, because I don't really want to show you what the break does until I have all the cases written out. So let's do case 4, and I'm just gonna copy all of this. Copy, paste. Sorry, this is a little boring, but and paste. And you know what? That's all I want to do for now. Okay, so we have a 3, 4, and 5. You are very ready. You are, let's just have it say ready, and you are probably ready for this college course. Something like that. So we have these 3 different, not so different messages pop out, depending if we type a 5, 4, and 3. Now what are these little breaks that I put in here? Well, just like if statements, if you have separate if statements, if, and no else ifs, then if one case holds true and you don't break out of the entire switch statement, then it will continue to look at each of the other ones. Now here we won't really have to worry about that because these are different integers, but what happens in the long run is your application will start taking longer to go through your code. Because what if you have a really long switch, all these different cases that go all the way forever? Well, if you don't have a break, if you don't break out when one of these turned out to be true, it's going to have to go through all the other cases. Which won't even matter because, well, we won't even need to know what the other case is since we already got one that was true. So what the break keyword does, and we'll actually revisit the break when we go into loops, what it will do is permanently get out of the switch statement. It will just skip everything that's afterwards. So, there we go. So I'll click save, and let's try this out. So type in your AP score, I'll throw in a 4. You are ready for this college course. So I typed in a 4, you are ready for this college course. That's exactly what we wanted. So that's really, really cool. Now if I do this again, and you know, I should throw out should have thrown these guys out, sorry about that. And there you go, and I don't need 2 semicolons there. Okay, so that should look better. Okay, so let's do this again, and let's type in a number that's not one of these. So let's type in a 2 for an example. Well, nothing happened, so that's expected because we didn't have a case 2. Well, typically, you need at least a 3 on an AP test in order to, well, pass the class and get credit for it in a university. Of course, it always varies. It depends. But typically, 3 is about the benchmark. So do we really need to have a case 2 and a case 1, you know, to look at both if you got a 1 or 2 to say you are not ready for the college course? Nah, no. Now, we don't need that. Instead, we can make an else, which we did in the if statements, but this time we don't actually use the word else. This time, we're going to be using the word default. And this works like the else. And, well, the default will always execute if none of the above worked. And also note how when we use an else, we didn't have an expression that followed. Likewise, with the default, we don't put, for an example, you know, a number there. Otherwise, we get an error. So no expressions, just like with the else, and no numbers or characters after the default. So let's throw this out, or just copy and paste it. Not throw it out. No. You are. Oh, do I dare type this in? Oh, you are not ready for this college course. Oh, to see that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's try this out. So let's see what happens if you type in a 2. You are not ready for this college course. Gosh darn. Nah. So yeah, so it worked, but there are flaws. What if they typed in a 6? Uh-oh. You are not ready for this college course. You know, if I got a 6 on an AP score, on an AP test, that's like, you know, off the charts. Literally, it really is off the charts because that doesn't exist. And then yet I'm still not ready for college. That's terrible. That's a letdown. That pretty much means there's something wrong with the test if I got a 6. But anyways, there are flaws, and you have to check those just to make sure. But so in such a case like this, it's not always foolproof. But we're going to assume the user types in the right stuff. They don't mess with your application. But so yeah, so we can work with integers, but we can also work with characters. So we could say type in your grade, and let's actually make the grade a char, shall we? So char, let's call it, whoops, grade. We'll change this to grade. So now we're going to be working with characters instead. And basically with characters, we're going to look for what they typed in. And remember, with characters, we use single quotes, not double quotes. So we check for an A, and we'll check for a B, and we'll check for a C, and you fail. I'll just change this to you fail. How about that? And this will be you got a C. I know this isn't. I should be better at this, but give you better examples than these. These are pretty lousy. Sorry about that. Got an A. Okay, so that looks about right. So I click save, and now let's run this. See how this works. So let's type in a B. You got a B. Well, yep, because the case B came out true. Let's try this something again. Let's type in an A. Wait a minute. What the? But I typed in an A. Wait a minute. Did I do something wrong? I put in an A, but it's supposed to say you got an A. Well, the reason why this happened is because, well, we only put a capital A here. Well, what if we want to check for 2 different values at the same time? In such a case that we'll see, both lower and uppercase. Well, what you can do is you first type in whatever you'd like first. It doesn't matter the order because it will check both. Then down here, type out case, and then a lowercase a, colon. So this time it'll check to see, look at both. If either one of these is true, it will execute this code. Obviously both won't have to be true. So I click save, and this time I run this. Let's type in the capital A. It says you got an A. Now let's run it again and check the lowercase a to see if that works. And it still worked. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, that's an example of using the switch statement. We used both integers and chars. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. I really hope this was helpful for you because I noticed that some people have trouble remembering this little nugget right here. So this is probably the most important part of the whole switch case that I want to show you guys. But this one was this right here. So other than that, this is pretty much it for the switch statement. So I hope this tutorial wasn't too much, and I'll see you next time.